If you're in midlife and caring for an aging parent, you might be wondering, where's my life in all of this? You love them. You want to be there for them. Maybe you've just retired and you're like, this is my time. And some days it might just feel like too much. You might have gotten started on planning your next chapter when, bam, something happened that pushed your own dreams to the back burner. Now, I never dealt with aging parents, to be perfectly honest, but I had the same experience with my daughter. Now, I won't go into the details, but she left an abusive husband with her 6 young children. It was hands on deck for quite a while, let me tell you, and it still is to a great extent. So I've been there in a little different context, but I've been there. And that's why today I want to talk about how you can design and actually live a fabulous next chapter without waiting until this caregiving season is over. I want you to remember your life matters just as much as theirs. Hello, everyone. I'm Sharri Harmel, and welcome to the Next Chapter podcast, where we are unapologetically redefining midlife and beyond. Remember, our next chapter might actually be our best chapter. So let's get started. Number 1, caring for an aging parent can feel like parenting in reverse. You're managing appointments, medications, maybe even finances, but you're also navigating the emotional landscape of love, frustration, sadness, gratitude, all conflicting, and sometimes, dare I say, all in the same morning. And there's the uncertainty. How long will this last? What will change next month? And that's why so many women, especially, put their own lives on hold, thinking, I'll get back to my dreams once this is resolved, once I get things all in place. Because if you're a natural problem solver, and many of us are, you've got that ingrained pattern of focusing 100% on the problem that has to be fixed, and you put everything else to the side. But here's the thing. This season for your parent, or if it's an adult child, could last years. If you put your life completely on pause, you risk losing years of your life, maybe even decades. You could derail your own next chapter while trying to solve the situation with your aging parent. So I want you to ask this question instead of, when will I have time for my next chapter? I want you to start asking, how can my next chapter grow alongside this caregiving role? And this takes us to a very important point. Name the feelings you want more of. Maybe it's peace, maybe it's creativity, maybe it's connection, accomplishment, playfulness, whatever it is that you want more of. It might just be peace. It might just be time. That's okay. I want you then to brainstorm small activities that would give you those feelings. So if we go back to that response, I want more time. I want more time for myself. Take it a little deeper and ask yourself, time to do what? What kinds of activities would give me the emotions and the feelings I'm after if I had more time? If I had more time, what would I do? It might be a Saturday morning watercolor class. It might be an evening walk or journaling with a cup of tea, or even planning a future trip out, something that's far out. Sometimes planning trips is almost more important or more fun, I should say, than going on the trip. This isn't about filling up your schedule. It's about sprinkling in those moments of vibrancy. Yes, you won't have big chunks of time to devote to your vision or whatever it is that you dream of for your next chapter, but you can do it in small little doses or small little bites. I kind of equate it to like a Parisian garden in a big chateau, obviously one of my dreams. You might not have the time or the resources to do it all. Even though you can design the whole garden, you may not have the time or the resources to do the whole thing. But that doesn't mean that you can't create a beautiful little courtyard, that makes your heart sing every time you go outside. So look at it like that. Your garden is your big picture design, and the courtyard that you're creating is the smaller activities, the shorter activities. I call this designing micro chapters. The book I wrote is called Designing Your Fabulous Next Chapter. Micro chapters are small chapters within a big chapter. So instead of the giant long-term goals that might get derailed because of all the responsibilities you have, break those big goals down into smaller, more adaptable, more adjustable ones. So let's say you want to write a book. Maybe your micro chapter would be to start by writing 1 page a day or even one paragraph. That's a micro chapter. Maybe you want to get fit. Your micro chapter might be to commit to a 10-minute walk after lunch instead of a full gym program. I was shocked. I recently started the book Super Agers, and I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming podcast because I think it's an amazing book, actually. And it talks about how walking 15 minutes a day, steady walking, actually can make a difference in your long-term health. If your goal is to get fit, be healthy, make that a micro chapter. Next, come up with routines that support you. What if you had a morning ritual that's yours before the caregiving begins? Maybe it's journaling, stretching, or a peaceful coffee moment. I have to say, as I've shared so many times, I love coffee, and especially in the morning, and I drink espresso. So regardless, when I'm on my 2-week stint to Minnesota helping my daughter out, regardless of what time I have to be at her house or what time I have to pick up the children, I make sure that I am awake early enough that I can have my quiet time. I can have my cup of double espresso and read the Wall Street Journal because that's a routine that grounds me. Same for the evenings. Come up with something that, signals you back into the moment or the moments of you, something that's just about you. Because our routines, believe it or not, are both our comfort. We know what to expect and what to do. They're also our compass. I think routines actually help us to be grounded enough, or they ground us enough to really pay attention to what we're doing and where we're going. So routines, create that routine that's all about you, a routine that's yours. Something that supports you, comforts you, and keeps you excited about this next chapter of your life. And one of those routines might be what I call to time block for joy. I mentioned my espresso coffee before I go deal with my daughter's issues and then picking up children and whatnot. That is actually a time block for joy because that gives me joy. Now, I'm not jumping around the apartment going, I'm so happy, but it actually provides the foundation so that when I get in the car, I'm not, dare I say, mad that I didn't have time for my coffee, that I'm having to go pick up kids at 7 o'clock in the morning and take them to God knows where. Having that routine is actually a time block for joy for me. Now, caregiving can eat up every available minute. So, time block. That's part of your micro chapters. What are you going to do in a particular time period? It might only be 30 minutes. And have it be something that you enjoy so much that you actually forget about those caregiver responsibilities. I hope that makes sense. Also, one of the hardest parts of caregiving is the emotional drain. It's not just about the tasks. It's about the constant readiness that caregiving has innately attached to it. And I recommend that you do, and do this weekly, an energy check-in with yourself. Get quiet enough to ask yourself, how am I physically? How am I emotionally? And what's one thing that I can do this week to restore my energy? What is one thing I can put on my calendar this week? 30 minutes, doesn't have to be long, that will help restore my energy. You need also to have gentle boundaries about your time. And this might mean to you that you have to say to your mother, your father, your child, whatever, I can come over after lunch, but I can't drop everything at this particular moment when I'm getting that phone call or whatever, and immediately popping in the car or walking over to their apartment or wherever they're living. You have to have some boundaries. Otherwise, there will be nothing left of you. So, gentle boundaries, I call that. And that might mean that, you need to call in a support system. It might mean that you, number one, explain to a sibling or a very good friend that you need one evening a week completely off duty. And can they help you? It's hard. It's hard to ask for help. But remember, sharing the load doesn't make you less loving. It actually makes you sustainable. And that leads to, and this is a big one, dropping the guilt. Taking time for yourself doesn't mean you're neglecting your parent. In fact, a more rested and centered you is a better caregiver. So you're actually showing up in a better place. Last, I also want to say there can be unexpected gifts in this time period. Caring for a parent can open doors to conversations you never had before. You might hear stories from their past. You might share laughs that you'll treasure forever. Or maybe just simply holding their hand, that connection. A friend of mine and her husband are going through this with her very elderly mother. And recently I was visiting and I asked the husband how it was going. His response was that as hard as it is, Sharri, he now thinks about how hard this may be for his wife and himself in another 20 years. I was struck, absolutely struck by his compassion. And that told me that obviously my friend and her husband have chosen to have that conversation about their own potential old age as it relates to taking care of her mother, rather than complaining about that additional responsibility that has been placed on their shoulders. There's a benefit. So in these moments of caring for an aging parent, a sick spouse, an adult child who needs you, they can all become part of your next chapter. Not as interruptions, but as threads woven into the story that you're living right now. And one day, these will be the memories that you hold very close. But do remember, my friends, that your next chapter isn't on hold. It's happening right now. It may not look exactly like you pictured it. I know mine doesn't. But with intention and boundaries and small doses of joy, your next chapter can still be vibrant and deeply fulfilling. And, if you're working through those caregiving commitments while designing your next chapter, I want you to share your experience. Share what is the one way that you've nurtured yourself while caring for someone else. Because honestly, many of us in this community are dealing with this. And I think we can get ideas from each other. I'm not the font of information, trust me. I need to be inspired too. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your thoughts are, what you're doing to protect and nurture your fabulous next chapter, while at the same time caring for someone who you love. Also, if you want to hear more on these next chapter topics, we talk about all kinds of things, travel, food, serious topics like the ones we just shared. Come join me over on Substack. The Substack community, it's free, also just like YouTube, but we have a little bit different conversation because they're shorter. And it's all about writing and maybe some photographs, but they're not videos as a whole. So come join us over on Substack. Take care, everyone, and please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this episode, and subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon, everyone. A biento.